Breaking news tonight as a top Trump diplomat testifies there was indeed a quid pro quo on Ukraine, Trump linking the funding for Ukraine to investigating the Bidens. Bill Taylor testified it was, quote, clear the extortion plot was driven by none other than Rudy Giuliani, who is under investigation by the office he used to lead, the Southern District of New York. That is the same office, of course, you may recall, that sent Donald Trump's other lawyer, Michael Cohen, to jail. It also has indicted two Giuliani associates who are linked to Ukraine. Back with me, as promised, is David Kelly, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and my former boss, and an exclusive here on The Beat tonight. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
When the Southern District takes up a case like this of a prominent individual who's a lawyer for the president and used to run the Southern District office, does that change the probe in any way?
No. Look, there's no one in the office involved in this investigation who was there when Rudy was. At least I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, his picture hangs on the wall, as do all former U.S. attorneys, but beyond that, I don't think they'll see much of a connection. And they'll look well beyond that and really just dive into the facts of the case as they would in any other instance.
When you look at what they're dealing with, they've indicted these other associates. They are reportedly investigating financial and business activities as well as potential corruption, however you want to define that. But it looks like, was there access or lobbying abuses or failure to register? How does a case like this proceed? How long does it take?
It's so hard to say. Some cases move very quickly, particularly as a cooperator. Some cases move very slow, depending on how many documents are and so forth. This case looks like it could move pretty quickly. It doesn't look to be too complicated, but we only know what we see in the indictment. The interesting thing here is they didn't mention in the indictment, as they often would, that there were unnamed co-conspirators, but they did say the investigation is ongoing. It's also interesting to see the connections that were drawn out of the media between these folks who were indicted and Rudy Giuliani, and I haven't seen anybody else who has emerged in the public record who would be a conduit to make connections between these defendants and, for instance, the Committee 1 and the Committee 2, which may be political action committees, as well as with, political figures with whom they had contact. So it's an interesting case. It certainly raises some eyebrows, and it'd be really love to be a fly on the wall in the Southern District and see what they're looking at.
You used to habituate with those flies. I want to ask you this. A lot of people have seen Bill Barr's Justice Department as defending the president. You said earlier very carefully that it was at least sloppy for them to rush out a statement that they weren't going to investigate any crime related to Ukraine before getting the facts. And then you have the SDNY being so independent, and the Mueller report referred to multiple unnamed referrals. They said the office, quote, identified evidence of potential criminal activity that was outside the scope of Special Counsel Mueller's jurisdiction and, quote, referred that evidence to appropriate law enforcement authorities. This is what we pulled from the Mueller report. Is it possible that the Giuliani probe was referred by Mueller?
Sure, it's possible. At least there could be leads that led to this case. One thing that's interesting here, you mentioned about Barr and the Justice Department. One thing I think we should keep our eye on here is that when presidents have looked to the Attorney General or to the Justice Department to be their law firm, it's always created problems. Look at Attorney General Gonzalez, for example. And I think the same thing is happening here. It never worked. There's never a good story in the end.
It might backfire on President Trump.
Absolutely. And it also worked, against Nixon when he tried to co-opt the Justice Department.
Yep.
And from the perspective of a lot of people who have been in the Justice Department, they see the same thing now in the sense that, it's being co-opted, that it's not. I heard somebody on TV not long ago, a former prosecutor, said that she used to always go out and say that, the Justice Department was apolitical, and now she's sick to her stomach.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sentiment that's shared by a lot of folks because they feel the same thing is going on now. Certainly looks that way from the outside going in. Fortunately, the Southern District appears to remain outside the fray.
Standing up to the pressure. I'm almost out of time. My final question for you, and I want a straight answer, sir.
I always give a straight answer.
What happened to Rudy?
Look, Rudy is either a Greek tragedy or a Greek comedy or maybe a little bit of both. And we really have to see how the facts play out. The man that I worked for, and I was proud that he hired me twice back in the 80s, and I worked for him, and I was very proud to be with him then. Really, the transformation is pretty incredible from a hardcore prosecutor to a politician to, I'm not quite sure how you characterize him now. And it's be interesting to see how these facts play out.
Well, as you say, I'm sure it brings you no joy to honestly chart that shift. And we've talked to a lot of folks around there who are either concerned with what they think he's up to or concerned for him. David Kelly, as always, thanks for coming on the beat.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.